I did what everyone told me was the right thing. Get your degree in record time, get a job. But I was depressed.
He is a content creator, social media personality.
The biggest thing you can have in 2025 is an audience.
With 100,000 TikTok followers.
If there's no buying power, then that's like other stuff. You have to look at your brand and the messaging.
32,000 on Instagram, an impressive YouTube presence. And it's interesting to see how it's like shifted from building these brands to now people.
I feel like we're at a point where media is everything. And now if you have a platform, you're basically a company. I post like 10 clips a day.
10 clips a day, bro. Crazy. What's the craziest confession you've come across?
And it tells me how like he went to Cape Town with his mates and he blew like something like 60,000 in one night. If you're not where you want to be, it's probably because you do not know enough and you need to put the time, get the extra skills because all the information is in the internet.
And today, we've got a guest, Paki Lawu. Let's cook.
Hey, welcome to the latest episode of the C.Cast. It's an absolute pleasure having you here today. Before we get into the next guest, I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of what this podcast is about. We are about connecting creativity and technology to uplift the African continent and connect the world to Africa. What we do is we chat to members of our communities. We give them a platform to share their story and to share how they are connecting Africa to the digital economy and the world to Africa. So before we get into this next guest, if you like our content, I just want to remind you to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment down below about what you think about the conversation. If you want to get more involved in the community, you can also join the WhatsApp group by scanning the QR code. In this group, we'll be able to share opportunities, knowledge with you, and you'll be able to meet other like-minded people of the community. So yeah, we hope to see you in the group soon. Until then, let's get into the episode.
C.Cast, episode number 42. Episode number 42. And today, we've got a guest. His name's Paki Lawu. He is a content creator, social media personality with 100,000 TikTok followers, 32,000 on Instagram, an impressive YouTube presence, and also on Facebook. We'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, recently reached a TikTok milestone with his Confession series gaining traction. Unique public interviews have been taking the world by storm. And today we're going to be diving into the mind of someone who is mastered consistency and public engagement in the digital era. Paki Lawu, let's cook.
Can I? One?
Yeah, we all good.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Nice one.
Always.
So, let's talk about Facebook real quickly. What's happening there by Facebook?
So, Facebook was a mistake. So initially, you know how you activate, like if you post a reel, it also posts on Facebook?
Yeah.
Cool. That was on. And I started with the Confession series. Now I'm getting a lot of Facebook notifications, which I don't usually get. Then I go on Facebook and I see 100K views. I'm like, what? And then I go there, it's continuing. The following is just, I think I got like a K follower in a day. I'm like, okay, cool. Because 1,000 is a milestone. You know, every content creator knows it's hard to get 1,000 followers.
1,000, bro.
Then the next day I get 2,000. I'm like, whoa. Then, like, I think in a week, it took me about a week to monetize. To monetize on Facebook, it's 10K. So I got 10K and it's been growing since. And now we're on 40K in a month.
A month?
Yeah, so 40,000 followers in a month.
That's crazy.
I didn't even know people used Facebook.
Yeah, me neither. Like, when I think of Facebook, I think of like my auntie, maybe my mom. So I'm like, damn, are these guys like listening to their kids' confessions? Because, hey, there's going to be some interesting Christmas conversations coming up this year.
It's so crazy. It's so, like, I also went to shoot on Vits and someone was like, you're the guy from Facebook. I was like, you guys are real people.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because like you look at these numbers, like 40,000 people, you know, I think a lot of time we get stuck in this like comparison loop where we see, oh no, someone else got 2 million. So like 40,000 is nothing. But when you start to think of like 40,000 people in one place, like that's like a stadium.
Yeah.
So that's like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've been on a journey to grow this following, you know, this Facebook following, you said it came in a month, but I'm sure there was like a lot of stuff that happened before getting to that point. So like, that's where I wanted us to really like start off was like Paki Lawu, like let's talk about the first video that came out. Like what was that like?
So for background context, I used to play rugby. I was like I thought I was gonna be a professional rugby player.
Right.
That was the dream. I played Curry Cup under 19 Curry Cup. I played under 18s Craven Week, and I was just starting to have a platform to play. So, but I got injured. So
Okay.
let's say my first year I'm playing, I'm doing well, and then I tear my ACL, and I'm like sitting with myself, and I'm like, what do I actually like?
Oh my
Who is Paki beyond the field? Because when you go to a boys' school, I don't know what school you went to, but traditional boys' schools have a way of indoctrinating you, making you think that this is the be all and end all, and there's nothing else besides, sport. So I found myself sitting a year, I'm out for a year, and trying to figure out what I actually like. I always told myself, no matter what I do, I don't want to go into the corporate space. So doing different stuff. I see content creation. I create one video, pretty chill, doesn't get much views. But I don't see it as something that I intuitively want to make a career. But I'm enjoying creating content, and I'm trying to get back into rugby. I finally heal. It's time to get back to rugby. I break my hand.
Oh my gosh.
I break my third metacarpal, and then I'm out for another year. I'm doing more content, but in my head, I'm like, no, rugby is a dream. Rugby is a dream. I get back, I get injured again. Locate my jaw. Then
What?
I'm like, all this. I'm still 21. I'm like, I feel like an old granny. Let me put rugby to the side. Let me focus. Let me put away the dream. Let me be serious. Lucky enough, I had like a rugby bursary at UJ. I get to a point where I'm 21. I have my degree. I'm like, the rugby dream is done. Let's just go into the corporate world. I get a job. I start working, and it was odd because I did what everyone told me was the right thing. Get your degree in record time. Get a job. But I was depressed. I'm like, I'm not happy. I don't feel fulfilled. Is this it? Like, is this
Surely there's more to this life.
Yeah, I'm like, surely I can't be in a cubicle forever, guys. Like, and I visualize myself like 10 years from now getting small promotions, living an average life, and not being happy. So I took a leap. I was like, you know what do I actually enjoy? Let me sit down with myself and try and find out content creation. And you can imagine in an African household telling them that you want to resign to make videos. So yeah, that's how it started. It was hard. The first year, because I've only been like focused, because I used to do it in uni occasionally, but I've only been focused for like a year and maybe like 4 months. And the first 6 months was tough, but it's weird when you believe in yourself. You intuitively know, you're like, yeah, people don't see it now, but I'm gonna get there, and people are gonna see what I see. People are gonna see my vision. I'm still far from where I want to be, but it's starting to slowly open up. Yeah.
Bro, like, so one thing I've noticed about you is like, we did a creator event, the Creator Hub. We partnered with Bongani Baloyi, and you were a part of that. And I think you asked the question, or there was some part where you were talking about how often you post.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us how often you post?
So I post like 10 clips a day.
10 clips a day, bro.
So I post like 10 clips a day. It sometimes gets more, but like on average, I try and like post 10 a day. And it's like, it's hard, but it also gets easy because the more you do it, the more it becomes systematic. So I try and like, let's say if we had this pod, right? I'll almost post the whole clip on TikTok. So I was like, people don't want to watch, I'm going to force them. Even if it means them watching the whole video by 1 minute videos in increments, I'm going to do so. So initially I started doing that. I was bad, but at most stuff you start and you're not quite as good as you'd like to be. But then as I progressed, I learned how to create better hooks. So like within this discussion, I was like, okay, what entry point would people want to hear? You post 10 times a day. That's the first clip. Explain that, and then cool. And then I catch other moments and I try and force them. And then it usually converts because they're like, okay, actually, what's happening here? Or leave a cliffhanger. Like you wouldn't know what like Paki Lawu or how many times you post a day to get this amount of followers in a year. And then they have to go watch the full 1 hour video. So yeah, I try and like have systematic approach and be more technical with my content creation. Yeah.
Do you think that like discipline when it comes to putting out that much content has something to do with your history in sports?
Yes, because sports engraved in me, like you have to work hard. There's no like, there's no if, there's no when I was playing rugby, I told myself, it's like, nah, the person who does the most work, who will be the best. It's simple. It's that simple. And with content, I'm like, if I post 1,000 times, someone can relate to me.
Yeah.
A few people can relate to me. And even if I suck, I would do it enough times where I would just eventually get good. Yeah.
Where do you think that long-term kind of perspective comes from? Because I think it's kind of beyond sports as well, right? Like there's something deeper to that, because you mentioned it now, right? Sports is not a long-term commitment. You were like retiring at like 21.
Yeah.
I mean, you do get like every now and again, you're going to get a Ronaldo who's now still going at age of 40, which is crazy, but that's like really rare. And even after you finish playing at the age of 40, you still got like another 50, 60 years ahead of you, you know? So that like long-term thinking, like, do you think, like, where does that come from? Because, you know, it doesn't just come from the sport.
Yeah. So the best way I can fetch it, when I was very young, my mom engraved this thought process in me that like something's gonna happen. Like, I don't come from a like super privileged background, but she was like, oh no, in retrospect, it's not, it doesn't make sense. But she's like, oh no, the reason why I'm suffering is because my kids will be great. And this is from a young age. So from like grade 1, grade 2, I already had like a sense of superiority complex, not in a way that I looked down upon people, but like I felt and I believed, oh, I'm destined for something great. So when the sports got taken away, I was like, what's next? But I have to do it at the highest capacity. I think my mom did a very good job at engraving that thought process of like, you have to be a winner, or you are a winner. You are destined to be a winner. I can think about it now and rationalize and be like, oh, you know, it's not entirely true, but that helped shape my mindset. And I think subconsciously, I still very much believe it. So that's how I'm like, 10 posts a day.
Mad. Yeah, no, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's awesome, bro. It's so cool to hear that you have that kind of relationship with your mom. Like, I come from a single-headed household. My mom was also, you know, it's just my mom and I. And I think that also really helped shift my perspective a lot, because when you have someone that just believes in you, like that can make so much of a difference, hey? The challenging part, which is kind of sad, is like a lot of people don't have that, right? So it's like, you know, that's why we do these episodes, is really just for the person that doesn't have that, like for us to show the stories of what's possible, you know, as long as you have that kind of commitment, you have that kind of thinking, you can achieve so much. And now when it comes to like your content and things that you achieved, like what is the thing that you're like most proud of that you've achieved so far?
This goes to a weird realm, because I have like productivity dysmorphia. Like I can never look back and be like, yo, I'm proud of myself.
Oh man.
Which is like a double-edged sword, right? So it's like I can do objectively good. And I was speaking to my girl about this, and as soon as, like, let's say I get a video that hits 1 million views, instead of being like, oh no, wow, like congrats, you did well, I'm like, how can we get to 1 million faster the next time? It becomes a new North Star that I'm chasing. So I have to force myself to be like, well done. Even like the 100K, when I got 100K, my close friends and my girl was like, let's celebrate. I was like, yeah. But in retrospect, I'm like, dude, you worked hard.
Yeah.
Chill out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I so it's very hard for me to answer that question with a single. You can see it.
You can do it, bro. We're all about firsts, yeah.
I would say a content piece that didn't really do as well as I anticipated, but I really enjoyed it, was when I had a conversation with Chief Matt, because I grew up watching him, and when we linked up and he actually like fucks with me, it was like a fan moment to like, oh, he's a peer, he's a friend. So I really enjoyed that 1 hour sit down with Matt. Yeah, it felt real, and you know when people watch myself, they create parasocial relationship, and you feel like, I know so much about this guy, and then you meet him and you're like me.
I'm your friend now.
So I would say that, yeah, I think I enjoyed that the most, despite how it did, yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy that you say that, because like Abo and I went to school together.
Yeah.
Then he met Matt in varsity, and then I've seen their journey like from the sideline, like throughout this whole journey, and like to see where he's now, like getting 100K subscribers on YouTube, and I know how much they put into that, because like just the effort that they put into TFG. Shout out to TFG, Tibbs, Abo, Matt. Shout out to you guys. But I know how much time and energy they put into the back end of that. And then for him to take that and run with it even further has been such a dope thing to see. A lot of people see the 100K, but they don't see like what goes in behind it, right? And that's why we really highlight these episodes, because a lot of what I've seen in younger people is we tend to compare someone else's journey to our journey. And you know, the most difficult part a lot of the time is just like to start, right? And when you're comparing yourself to someone who's like done so much already, you know, when you put something out, you put so much effort into it, you put so much time, and it gets 100 views, and you're like, flip, this is not 1 million, like, and I put so much time into this, can be so like discouraging. But like for you, like, what's that thing, like, what would you say is your why that like keeps you to like keep improving throughout all this journey?
Like, my main objective is to be the best version of myself. So when I do something, I try and do it wholeheartedly. And I know a lot of people tend to lie to themselves, distract. But whenever I get any crippling thoughts of like, oh no, let's just sleep or not do this, I'm like, are you being the best version Paki can ever be? I see myself as like potentially the main character in the movie, and I'm trying to like do what a main character would do. I have this little thought processes that just bring me back into like the graft. So I think, yeah, whenever I deviate or try and not being consistent, I look at myself and I'm like, dude, are you being the person that you would look up to, that you would be proud of? And yeah, my why is simply like to try and meet my maximum potential, to try and see like what's a version of Paki that gives it his all, and he's honest, and he cuts down the bullshit, and he doesn't like slack. So that's I would say that's my why, to meet my potential as close as I can.
All right.
Yeah.
And talking about meeting your potential and places where people go to meet their potential, why do you record at Wits?
So
Why Wits?
So with content creation, it's really hard to get people that are keen. And like in the normal, because I do also go out to Rosebank, whatever, in the normal world, people are apprehensive to be on camera. I found that whenever I go to university, students are more like, yeah, open to engaging. So initially, and which I'm still like working on the pipeline, was to start podcasting, right? So the framework that I had, I was like, okay, cool. I want to do content creation. I know it differs now, but at the time I was like, it would be very hard for me to put out a 1-hour video for people to be interested in. Even my friends won't watch it. So you know how content creation goes. When you're starting, you're sending links.
Hey, man. Watch your friends' videos, guys.
Support your homies. So I'm like, how do I create a fan base of people that actually will engage and be interested in what I have to say? Because I started DMing creators like, let's collab, and they didn't respond. And I don't blame them, because it's a game of leverage, right? It's people want, if I don't know you, I don't have to help you. So it's like, what do I benefit from collabing with Paki? So I had that mindset. I didn't take it personally. I was like, I need to grow my audience. And the best way to grow it was peak short form content. So I was like, let me do short form conversations around things that are interesting and have actual dialogue. Because a lot of people do public interviews, but it's very like surface level. It's very, what's your type? Done. Smash. What? So I was like, let me try and like engage public discourse and see people's perspective. And I did a video on pro-life, pro-choice. I had like an election run. I asked people what political party most aligns with your values. It's like a smart, sneaky way of saying, who would you vote for? And why? So yeah, that started getting attraction. I kind of like got lost in between, because ultimately I want to go into podcasting, and I have a decent fan base, but yeah, I'm still looking to go do it in the next couple of months.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's a long way of saying why I shouldn't.
No, I'm glad you went into that, because it opens up another conversation. I was going to ask you which is better, Wits or UJ, because...
Hey, why you gotta do me like that?
Yeah, man.
I think Wits is better. Yeah.
Wits is better. Damn. Okay. Rationale.
I think the people are more informed. The people are more interested in engaging. So it's better from a content perspective. I have better conversations at Wits than I have at UJ. Okay. Maybe it's just my selection process, but yeah, from my experience, I think Wits has been a lot better with shooting, especially when I go more with the in-depth conversation. There are a lot of people that are actually interested, where when I'm at UJ, it's just like, ask me a better question, which is like, damn.
How do you choose who to interview? Like when you talk about that selection criteria.
So generally I try and see who's keen firstly, but then I just look for people that look interesting. Like
Okay.
if someone's walking with a suit on campus, I'm like, yes, like
This person got something to
yeah,
say.
it's got something to say. Clearly, he's not the norm. Clearly, there's a bit of like substance here. If someone's dressed super liberal or whatever, so I look for people that look interesting and don't look like the everyday Joe. So that's where I gauge. And sometimes you get people surprising you where they look like timid, and then you give them the mic and they don't stop yapping.
They drop some whack ass stuff about how they cheated on someone. Hey, bro. I've heard some things, man. In those confessions videos. Hey, man. Okay, so you touched on like something that's very interesting. It's you talking about depth, right? Like, because that's something I've also realized. There's a lot of channels out there are not talking about things of depth. So I think there's like a huge gap in the market. Do you agree that's the same? Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, I definitely see there's an interest of actual conversation. I think a lot of stuff in the internet, it's either super technical or super goofy. Like I think the sweet spot, especially for like the my target market is usually like uni students. It's like, okay, who actually represents us and the kind of conversations I can sit and have with my mate. It's not like super like Caesar and Pofu Welsh, where it seems like a bit too technical and he's doing great, but like the everyday kid doesn't want to consume that, where it's like super goofy, like I don't know, the King Omar's, the Ghost Ruby. So it's like I'm trying to like bridge the gap where I'm like actual conversation, but in somewhat a cool manner, a digestible manner. Yeah.
Okay, and like, were there any experiences that you've gone through that kind of shaped that approach towards your content?
I think it's intrinsically who I am. It's the type of conversations I have. So yeah, sometimes I even shy away because I get a bit too much. But like, yeah, I think the type of conversation is my framework is what am I interested in? Like whatever is happening in the internet, I'm like, let me have a conversation about that I'm interested in, and I kind of like build up a rationale to other people. Because I'm like, what's your perspective on this? And then you gauge, and then I'm like, okay, I'm also actively learning and the next person. And it's quite interesting because earlier on in my YouTube, I was like trying to tackle like hard topics and present both sides. I did a video on Israel versus Palestine, peak. Like, so I went asking like, because there were rallies at Wits, I went to the people that were pro-Palestine and asked them for their perspective, and the people that were poor Israel, I asked them for their perspective. And you know what? I went there without knowing anything about the conflict. I was shooting some other random video, and then I saw the rally. I'm like, let me try and engage. And I'm actively interviewing and learning real time. Yeah, so I just like whatever I'm interested in and try and gauge.
Yeah.
So that's usually my selection process.
What's the most insightful thing that you've learned from an interview?
That's a really good question.
I love asking the questions that make you sit there like.
That's a really good question. One thing I learned that I found extremely interesting from interviewing people is that like most people don't know their stance. Most people have like, you know how identity politics is in America? It's very much a thing in South Africa. Like I'll propose like a challenging question, and then you give me a false response. And as soon as I ask why, you see them, they thought process is cracking in real time. Even with myself, where it's like you get so easily latched onto our proximity, like let's say close mates, and your views become my views without understanding the rationale. So I found it interesting how much people don't know about themselves. That's I think my biggest takeaway from interviewing, I don't know, the amount of people I have. And it's also, instead of like bashing them, I try and nurture it. I try and be like, okay, cool, but like, what does that mean? Instead of saying that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really have spaces to articulate what they think.
Yeah. I think that's why it's so cool to like have a space where we have these kind of conversations, because through talking to someone else, you actually learn a lot about yourself through that experience. It's like, it's that thing of like through teaching, you learn as well, right? Like, because you have to understand what you're talking about to a certain degree in order to be able to explain it to someone else. So I think that's really cool. And that's a really insightful lesson as well. When it comes to like, let me ask you this question actually.
Okay.
Tell me about the 70,000 Rand spending spree adverts on a night out. Like, how did that happen?
So, like I said, interesting people that I try and filter out. So I see this guy, he looks distressed. And he wasn't the first person I saw, right? I'll go a bit of a tangent and I'll loop it back. So it was such an interesting paradox because the first guy I met, he's a friend of mine I create content with. His name is Romeo Black. And he's telling me he owes Vit 90,000
Mad.
school fees.
Just a pocket change.
Yeah. And then, but prior to that, I met a girl that also looked like kind of like in distress. And I think it worked well because it was registration period. So she's like, I'm like, do you want to be on the video? I forgot what was the topic or something random. She's like, oh no, I'm not really in the mood. I'm like, what's wrong? Talk to me. She's like, I owe fees and I don't know if I'll be able to study. Then I'm like, this may seem a bit insensitive, but gauge with me. I'm trying to help. Why don't we make a video and then you share, and then it could be anonymous confession style, right? And then you see if people are willing to help you. You know, people, what I've noticed with life in general, people fall in love with like a story. I can say I need money and it won't hit as much as like a well planned out story. People like, oh no, actually they want to be part of the journey. So I tell that to her. She waits for like a good 10-20 minutes. And then she's like, she wants to, she's apprehensive, she's not sure. She's like, you know what, thank you so much, but I don't think I'm capable of doing it. I'm like, cool, no worries. So I go to my friend and I tell him, I'm like, yo, dude, like, he was like, why were you guys chatting for so long? I told him the situation. He's like, help me.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, cool. So I tell him, and then he tells his story. He's studying law. He's been studying law for 7 years. He's been struggling, and now he's finally on like the last bridge of doing it. And then he owes a bunch of money. And then he was like, oh no, dude, like, can you put in the description that they must help me out? I told him, like, no, people don't like it when you ask, people suggest. I'm like, just let me put it as a normal video and trust me. And as I called it, people are like, oh no, can you have a GoFundMe? We want to help you. You have a good soul, this. He created a GoFundMe page, and I think he's currently on like 10,000 Rand or something, which is like, wow. But cool, we go from that to seeing some guy that's looking also apprehensive, and he's like, I'm like, yo, dude, I'm shooting a video. Do you want to hop on? He's excited. He's really excited. He's keen. He's like, yeah, I've got a story for you.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, yes. Video for hours. I needed this. And then he jumps on and he tells me how like he went to Cape Town with his mates, and his mom gave him the money to register the following year, and he blew like something like 60,000 in one night. He was buying bottles for his friends. He booked an Airbnb, and his mom is blowing up his phone right now, and he's trying to find a way to rent. And I'm just like, I have to stay cool. Because if I act like, what, too crazy, people won't want to post it. So with the confession series, a lot of the times when people say crazy stuff, I have to act like it's normal.
Bro, how do you
because if I'm like, if I act too like, oh bro, are you sure? They won't want me to post.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh no, that's cool. And then, I'm like, no, that was alright. That was cool. No, it's a dumb story. But yeah, it's always so interesting because I hear crazy stories and I have to stay composed. Yeah.
Bro, I don't know how you do that, hey? Because, like, literally, like, confessions, dude, the kind of things that people are up to.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like, whoa.
Yeah.
People living it, dude. It's crazy. What's the craziest confession you've come across?
And it's so interesting that people are willing to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they obviously, like, I think what gives them the safety net is that people won't be able to recognize me. Although yeah, people won't be able to
Bro,
recognize.
if I know your voice, I know your voice. Like, come on.
So I've been also like, because people were complaining about that, I've been using AI to distort their voice.
Okay,
So now it's like a bit of, and sometimes when you are too, I'm like, you can put on a hoodie to cover your stature because you try and work around it. But the craziest confession I heard was the lady that is sleeping with a married man and she's having kids with this married guy. And then I'm like, are you happy? She's like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm like, okay. I'm like, are you one day hoping to be the main wife? She's like, no, I found the wife there. I'm just like an extra person. I know my place. There's no way I'm gonna look to replace the wife. I like how it's set up. I'm
Mad. Okay.
like, all right.
Hey man, as long as you're happy.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also feel like, yo, just don't hurt other people in the process.
Yeah. No, that's
right? Like,
definitely wrong. But like, I try and not judge because, the whole thing is you want to create a safe space because people are probably parceling the stuff up. I think some of the stuff that people have told me, I don't think they've told anyone. Or maybe they've only told their close friends because it's like, there's a sense of relief and like, I don't know, it's weird. Even when people speak to me and they get too emotional, I was getting dragged by the comment section saying that I have no empathy. I'm like, I don't want to take away from what people are saying by like outwardly giving advice and being like, you know what, you can actually do this. When the camera's off, we can chat and be like, yo, was that really? But I don't want to take away from the safe space that I'm trying to create. Like, we don't judge you here. You can go crazy. Like someone connects to what you're saying. And then you look at the comments and the audience is split. I remember there was this one girl that like basically poisoned her roommate.
man.
She was like,
As one does,
So her story goes as follows. She was like, no, there was this girl that I stayed with that was continuously stealing my food. And I kept asking her, I was like, dude, are you stealing my food? She's like, nah. And then she's like, so I decided to put laxatives in my own food. And then she ate it and then it destroyed her. And it was during exam season and she was studying medicine and she didn't pass. So I'm like, hello, but I look at the comment section. People are like, yeah, it's not illegal to put laxative in your own food. She's a thief. She deserves that. And then people are like, that's wrong. It's so split. It's interesting to just
to have
like,
debate.
yeah, see how people fetch it.
Hey, hold on. I just need to remind you very quickly to like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment down below about what you think about this episode. We need to be able to tell the algorithm on YouTube that we are creating content that is valuable. So please engage with this content, whether you're listening to it on YouTube or on Spotify or whatever platform. Please engage. It just helps us reach more people, brings more people into the community, which means more access to knowledge and opportunities for you, a member of the community. So please don't forget to engage on this video or this audio podcast and leave a like, comment, or subscribe and give it a share. Thank you so much. We'll hop back into the episode.
What made you interested in like these deeper topics? Like,
I think I'm just a curious person. Like I enjoy watching Joe Rogan, Chris Williamson, Diary of a CEO. Those are the people that like I look up to and one day want to get somewhat close to in terms of how I deliver my content and stuff. So I think interest based, because I'm trying to get there. I obviously have to start practicing in a lesser level. So it's try and make a 1 minute conversation as deep as it possibly can be.
it's challenging.
Yeah.
Eh? Like short form content in a way is nice because it takes less time and effort. But then in that sense, it's also challenging because how do you condense such a rich story into like such a short period of time? So like, how do you do that?
So you have to understand content in general, and then you understand what are good hooks. So sometimes I can be speaking to you, and I can see your story is not going anywhere, and I'll interject and be like, okay, what does it mean? But this. It's like it's the way in which you ask your questions that you try and get it as rapid as possible. And also, there's a lot of cuts because I can be maybe I'll shoot with someone and they'll speak for maybe like 8 minutes, and it's only 1 minute of that is used. Because during that I'm fishing for something, like, please give me something.
How long does it take for you to edit one of those videos?
Maybe like 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
30 minutes. But then it gets easier the more you
LinkedIn.
do it. Yeah. it gets the more you do it, you go.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what, like, it's a day job.
Yeah, it's a
at
day
this
job.
moment.
It's my full-time job.
Mad. So,
Yeah.
like, how do you make money? Like,
Brand.
yeah.
Yeah. So I know a lot of content creators struggle with this perspective of things, but like I obviously started, I'm not making money. YouTube AdSense, I'm not there where it's like, whoa, I can survive off this. But I chose to have a more like proactive approach. So I'm like, okay, students, what companies align with students? Do a bit of market research, propose, get brands emails. I go to LinkedIn, I look for someone like in the marketing space. I'm like, okay, no, send them a DM. This is what I do. These are my impressions. How can we align? And it's when you're getting certain amounts of views, it kind of becomes a no-brainer because I'm posting so much, the impressions are crazy. Because if I can be like, listen, I get 20 million monthly views, let's work together. Let me advertise you. It's like
It's an easy sell.
yeah, and I'll also be like, this demographics is what caters to your audience. So what's your reason for saying no, really? Like I try and map out in my head, I'm like, these are all the criteria that one would look for, and I have it, and I'm proposing to you. And a lot of people want you to also give them the concept. So if I can come with the blueprint of like, this is why this would be successful. If you have a remotely good product, and I put it in the eyes of like 100K people, like
What can that do for the
yeah, what
brand?
can that do for your brand? If there's no buying power, then that's like other stuff. You have to look at your brand and the messaging that you, but like I'm giving you publicity as much as I can. And most people will be like, okay, cool, let's cook.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. And I love that we're going in this direction because it talks a lot about the business side of
Yeah.
it. And like, in order to do this full time, it has to be sustainable. You
Yeah.
have to be making money off of it. And I think a lot of the time, like, we get really good at like telling stories, taking good pictures, making dope videos. But the business side of it is
Yeah.
like super, super important as well. And you know, it's not easy to learn that stuff. So like, where would you say you actually learned all of this stuff? Was it just through experience, or do you have like a mentor?
So it's all over the place because I went to uni. I did BCom Business Management. I did work in corporate for a bit, so I kind of understand systems and operations. I also have a friend who's an entrepreneur, is really good at it, and we sit down and have like long talks and discuss. And he's like very cutthroat. He's such a hyper performer that he thinks I'm not working hard, and I go crazy. So it's like it's good to have such people in your corners that will speak to you objectively and be like, okay, no, but like I hear what you say, but like how can you be better? How can you be it's the mindset of like I'm never a victim. I'm always looking for solutions. And I've adopted that headset of like if something goes bad, ultimately it's my fault. It's like I was not prepared, I was not this, and how can I be better? I think it's kind of refreshing because I'm like everything is in my control, so I can control it. Where if I post a video and be like, oh, I'm just unlucky, then I'm giving outwards energy where I'm like, okay, cool, let's look at this video. It did bad because the hook was bad, it was too long, took too long to get to the point, and break it down objectively and not take my emotion, be like, oh, I spent like 2 hours editing this and it tanked.
Yeah.
Like I believe like it's
not
tanked because
personal,
it's not a
man.
good video. It's just
Yeah.
I somewhat separate the art from me, if that makes any sense. I'm like, okay, objectively, how can we do better the next time? Yeah.
That constant improvements, and then when you keep on doing that consistently, you're gonna get
Yeah.
better at some point, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about business now. We've spoken a lot about like the highs in terms of like all the numbers that you've reached and you know the deals that you've managed to get. I want us to talk a little bit about the lows.
Yeah.
Because like you mentioned now, like sometimes you do something and it doesn't get the outcome that you're looking for, and then it's kind of like a trigger to reiterate and you
Yeah.
learn a lesson from that. So like, what would you say has probably been the biggest challenge that you've had to face, and what was the learning from that challenge going forward?
The lows, it's quite interesting because we look for platforms like this and spaces like this that they're not many of that can educate us, right? Because I had to before I could get this whole systematic approach and be so technical, I had to eat a lot of shit. I had to have a lot of bad videos for X amount of months. I created content that's not brand friendly, and you think, oh no, the world's out to get me. But then it's like, if you're saying outrageous shit and you want Coca-Cola to align with you, there's no match. But no one's going to tell you that. No one's going to tell you like your thing is not, your stuff is not brand friendly. How do you charge? Like what's my value? Like if I have 100K, what's reasonable? If I have 50, if I have 10, am I lowballing myself or am I overcharging? So you go. People people obviously take advantage of it, will pay you what you're not worth, and then you're just constantly trying to find a market fit, and then you finally realize it's like, okay, cool, this makes sense and this is what I should have done. But that takes like 8, 10 a year, maybe even 2 years to get you. But then obviously when you finally get it, it's easier to look in retrospect and have a highlighted moment, because it's easy for me to be like, oh no, it took me 8 months to do this. It sounds like fast, but 8 months was hard. There were some days where I'm looking at myself, I'm like, what are you doing?
It's crazy, bro. Like in the previous podcast, you're talking about these challenges.
Yeah.
And how, like, bro, sometimes I hit a low and I just like whip out my CV and just like stare at it for a little bit, just kind of contemplate.
It's time to go back.
Yeah, bro. I not even go back for me, bro. I didn't even go that way at all. Like I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm gonna do my own thing and see how we can thug it out here. But it's hard, bro. Yeah.
They'll look at your CV and be like, why is there such a big gap? Like, what?
Dude, where have you been, bro? Like, now you're creating content. Yeah. And I think there's still like a stigma against content creation. Like, if you're gonna go back into work and they see, oh no, you were doing like YouTube for like 5 years, or whatever, they can be like, a lot of people would be like, what?
Yeah.
Like, but do you think that's changing now?
I think it's changing because I feel like we're at a point where media is everything. Like, media is getting into politics, media is getting into buying power. Now, if you have a platform, you're basically a company. Like, no, there's no way of other putting it. There's no other way of putting it. If you have a platform and you wanna sell something, you wanna do this, you're working with brands, you're a company. Like, and I think people are realizing that more and more because these companies are working with influencers, creators. I think the biggest thing you can have in 2025 is an audience. Like, even if it's by mistake, and then you make money from that and start working backwards.
Yeah.
And I think people realize that. Like, if you post something, there's people that are listening and people that have been watching your podcast for months, years, and be like, oh no, I trust Dylan. Like, he wouldn't lie to me, and they'll buy. It's like straightforward marketing.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see how it's like shifted from building these brands to now people, because like people are becoming much more interested in another person on the other side of the screen rather than this advert that portrays the Coca-Cola can with the perfect placing of the little water droplets. And like, I think with younger people, it's kind of become disingenuous to kind of make it that like polished and kind of fake in a way. So like the fact that we as younger people can hop onto a platform before now, in order to reach that many people, you would have had to like buy out ad space on TV or be on a TV show. And that was it. Like, that's the only way you could have done it. And you needed money to do that. Whereas now, like, anyone can pick up their phone, put a video out there and like speak to thousands of people.
They want real people they can trust, because they've realized that like the companies have this bad stigma that they don't care about people. There's no human touch. That's why they're like, we're in a generation of people, consumers, that don't want to feel advertised to. And the companies have to find tricks to be like, oh, was that an ad? Wow. Like, literally, that's where we're at. So the creators with actual personalities, those are the people that succeed. Those are the people that like have buying power, because people trust you. And the direct opposite is the companies that they do not trust. And like, I just want to make profit. All these buzzwords. Capitalism, man.
Hey, man. Capitalism, bro. Hey, bro. You're gonna go down a rabbit hole here. Hey, I hope we come back at some point. But anyways, we're here now. So when it comes to like, we've spoken a little bit about your past, where you began. We've spoken a little bit about where you are now and the kind of deals that you're working on, how you put out content. There's some lessons that we've learned in that. But now I want us to talk a little bit more about, like, you mentioned podcasting, right, as a future step. Tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what kind of content are you looking at doing in terms of podcasting? And is there a more long-term vision beyond that podcasting falls a part of?
Yeah. So there is a long-term vision. So what I'm trying to do is, because my audience is people in universities currently, and younger students and some older, I want to like inform. I want to create more educational content. I think there's a lack of that. I want to start interviewing working professionals, and it doesn't, and also I'll have people that are specialists and whatever, and famous people here and there. But the main goal is like, let me sit down with an accountant and ask him, what is your day-to-day life? What does that entail? How much are you expected to earn when you just start working? How much are you expected to earn as like your maximum earning potential, right? Stuff like that. How long did it take you to study? Because a lot of kids in high school think, let me do accounting for 3 years and I'm accountant. No, there's board exams, there's etc. So I'm trying to give people a proper overview of what it actually takes. And then there's room for, just expanding and curiosity. So I won't limit myself to that. But I think that's the core interest where I'm at. I'm like, working professionals, let's see what it looks like. What does a full-time podcaster do? What does a full-time actor do? And actually fetch it from that angle to give people a better understanding. Because from my personal experience, it's like most of the stuff you learn on your own and you learn when you're there. And I don't think that's a good thing.
Bro, there's two ways to learn. Either you learn from someone else who made the mistake and they tell you what to do, or you make the mistake yourself and learn yourself, right?
Exactly.
And I think the first way is probably a bit better. Like, then you don't have to deal with all the nonsense of falling and getting back up and all of that.
So that's where I want to fetch it from. That's the type of conversations I want to have, and I want to build and see what the media empire will look like eventually.
That's awesome. I think you've really hit a good kind of niche, because one of the biggest challenges that we have is unemployment, right? So a lot of people are now looking at university to find a way to solve unemployment, right? And then it brings up all these conversations about purpose. Do you think that, like, if you were to go back, would you go and study again? Do you think university is like a necessary thing in order to be successful?
That's such a good question. So going back with everything I know, I'd still probably study. I think despite the backlash that uni gets a lot of the time, and despite people not like studying, not working in what they studied, there's still a lot of like micro habits that you get from uni, right? You know how to show up on time, you know how to work with people, you know how to deliver tasks, right? I feel like those stuff were necessary, because the guy I was when I was 18 was super irresponsible. So if I went straight from that into the working world, I feel like I was going to struggle a lot, or maybe not. But I feel like university forced me to learn fast in real time. You know, a lot of the kids don't know what to do with their extra time. They don't know how to plan. They don't know. And I feel like that's what university does. I know in the UK, people go from like studying, let's say, geography and end up working in corporate. University is just a certificate to show you that you can actually show up on time, deliver the task, work with people. You know, you're coachable, you're agreeable to a certain degree. So I think that there is value in going to uni, but if you can't, there's still also other alternatives. You can do short courses, you can go to technicons, etc. But I'd never say university is not necessary, even despite me not going into the corporate world. I think there were such micro habits that it instilled in me, going from like, okay, teachers need you to do this, to like, I need to go to class, I need to do this, I'm by myself, and there's a bunch of people in the lecture hall. Oh, damn, I just failed the module, I'm not used to failing. You know, it's like, it gives you a real push into like what is expected in corporate, in the working world. And like it or not, even us creatives, we still have to interact with that environment. You still have to send emails. You still have to make sure you're punctual. You still have to, you know.
But not only that, like, I'm pretty sure you have like a schedule in terms of what your day is going to look like.
100%.
And like, what are you doing at this time? Scheduling meetings, you know,
exactly,
all of that kind of stuff. You know, you have to be in charge of that. Whereas in school, you're not in charge of that. You just follow what the timetable says. Now, varsity, you have to learn it yourself and implement that for yourself.
100%.
So there's a certain like level of like discipline that comes from that. But I guess, like you're saying, it's not necessarily something that you can only learn in university. You can also learn it from experience, or if you actually have an inclination to want to figure it out as well, you can also find like content online. Do you use AI in your content?
So here and there. So sometimes I use Opus clips, but those are just for
captions.
The captions. Sometimes I used it like, let's say, for a month, and then I figured out that like it ranks the hooks, it ranks all the stuff, but I'm better at picking it up. Like I'm better at like understanding the market and what people will find as a good video, because I think the matrix and the data that it's being compared to might be from the UK or the US, but from a South African context, this is relevant. And also sometimes the starting point of the video and how it ends is a bit awkward. So I prefer to clip it by myself. But I also use it as just a guide. So let's say it will tell me this are good, and then I'll just tweak it a bit more, cut it longer, shorter, because it obviously makes my workflow a lot easier than watching the full thing. And sometimes, as we were speaking, let's say if this was for my stuff, I remember certain moments already, so I'd probably go put it down on my notes and be like, when we spoke about this, when we spoke about that, when we spoke about those are potential good clips. Yeah,
Nice.
so I integrate it a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. If there's someone out there who's watching this, who's interested in the content world, maybe someone that hasn't had the opportunity to go to university, what would you say to them?
I'll tell them it's hard. It's very hard. You just have to believe in yourself. Sometimes it feels like you're not moving, but trust me, you're moving. As long as you stay consistent, there's always progression. Even if the thing about consistency is like, even if you're bad, like somehow, somewhere you will make it work. It's very hard to do the same thing 1,000 times and learn nothing. It's those incremental growth that will become exponential towards the end. People look at you and be like, yo, what happened? But then you get micro skills, and then when you put them all together at the right moment, you will blow up and you do well. And also sometimes people rush the process, and in retrospect, and it's easier to say it from this perspective, it's like you're not ready for it. Like a lot of people don't know how to handle negative comments. They don't know how to like prepare themselves for what the internet world entails. So I would say be patient. If you're not where you want to be, it's probably because you do not know enough, and you need to put the time and get the extra skills, because all the information is in the internet. Everything you need is presented for you, and you just have to work. And if it's not working, then you have to work harder. It's that simple.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what would you say you're most excited for in this year, 2025?
To see if I can hit my goals, because they're insane. Because on TikTok I want 1 million. On Instagram I want 100K. On YouTube I also want 100K. Yeah.
Million on Facebook.
1 million on Facebook. Let's go.
Let's go. Gang, gang.
Yeah, I really want to see if I can hit those marks, and I'm gonna try my hardest to. Yeah, I'm just not saying it 4 5s. I'm really gonna try and put the effort to hit those benchmarks, because why not?
Yeah, for sure. And it seems like you've managed to build a situation that's sustainable, which gives you the time to actually like invest in that, right? What does that look like for you? Is it just brand deals, or is it like more than that? Is it ad revenue? Like
It's brand deals. It's ad revenue. Facebook also pays really well.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I'm also trying to create a team and a system, and like I have an editor, I have someone that sends out my emails and plans. So I'm trying to create also an ecosystem. There's a bunch of content creators that I work with on a continuous basis. They have like smaller platforms or similar to mine. So it's like we have a network where, let's say there's a friend of mine's name's Flex, where at the time I had like 50K followers. He had like 100 already, and I would approach brands. I'll be like, okay, now how do I make myself useful and relevant in the situation? I'm like, our combined following is this, and we can get this amount of impressions together. Where I would work with other creators and help them also make money. So I'm trying to create somewhat like a media company, a network, and I'm just building it as we progress and see what happens. Yeah.
That's awesome to see here. And it's interesting to see how like creators are now transitioning from just being creators to now building businesses.
Yeah.
That's like really why we started this podcast, was to like help facilitate people in that understanding and how to like actually make that happen. Because when I look at South Africa, the biggest challenge that we have as young people is unemployment. So the solution to that is creating jobs, and the best way to create jobs is to create businesses.
Yeah.
So to see you like going in the world and like creating that business around something that you're passionate about and something that you enjoy, and being able to offer opportunities to other people, is like seeing it happen in real time is really cool to see. So big ups to you for doing that, bro.
I have a question for you. What are your goals for this year?
Damn.
I like people putting their stuff out there so they hold themselves accountable.
I love that too. You know, when you mentioned your goals and you were saying like the numbers behind it, I was like, damn, he's actually like putting it out there
Yeah.
against the world. And yeah, it's a good way to do it because you kind of hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
And I can tell that's like a huge like value that you have,
Yeah.
that accountability. But for me, you know, our goals, we run a digital marketing agency behind the podcast, right? So most of my goals fall within that, right? So we want to increase our revenue this year. We've got a goal in terms of what, I'm not going to put the numbers out
that's
there
okay.
because those are financial numbers. But yeah, we want to increase our revenue. Just to give you some context, last year we were able to increase our revenue by over 80%. So I know it's a really good year for us. So, and you know, a lot of that came from our podcast, right? Yeah. Not in the sense of like, because people look at our podcast, they're like, oh, you don't have a lot of numbers. So like, I'm not going to pay attention to this because people seem to put a lot of attention on numbers. But, you know, content is a tool and it depends how you use the tool. If you're using it to get impressions and to get big numbers, then for sure. If you're using it as a way to get clients, to build your network, convert those clients into paying people that are going to sustain your business, then that's going to be a different use of the tool. So that's how we've used the podcast and that's helped us grow our business. So we want to continue that growth in terms of our business. And then in terms of the podcast, right? So like I mentioned, last year, beginning of the year, bro, I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent, dude. Jeez. Like, yeah, it was like what was it? 2020, end of 2023, our main clients called me up and said, hey, we're struggling financially. We're not going to be able to pay you next month. So it put me in like survival mode. And then from there, we managed to like grow throughout last year.
Yeah.
But now that we're at the point where, you know, we've got a level of sustainability, we've got a little bit of runway to work with, I really want to shift the podcast from being a tool to grow our business to also being a tool that offers educational information and knowledge to people that are interested in the creative space and want to find ways to monetize their creativity. So you'll see a lot of the content that we're putting out is going to start shifting in that direction. And we're also looking at landing some partnerships that are going to help us, you know, build that out going further. So yeah, that's cool. Kind of my goals in a nutshell. Yeah, we haven't put, I think we do need to put goals in terms of like numbers behind that, especially for like the growth on the podcast. So we actually having a strategy session around it as a team soon. So we'll probably put numbers behind that. But in a nutshell, that's where we
Who, sorry, just one more question.
Hey. This is the thing, bro. I feel honored actually.
Who would you compare like where you want to be to? Like who's someone out there that's hyper famous that you look at like, I'm gravitating towards being like X individual?
It's funny because you kind of name dropped him earlier, Stephen Bartlett.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
I see it. Yeah,
he's a super big inspiration, and the thing that I like about him is he's tapped into like content and used that as a vehicle to progress what he's working on. But not only that, he's managed to expand it beyond just one business, right? He started his first business, he grew that to the point where it could function on its own, and then he's moved on to other things as well. I would really like to do that in the future because I think, like I said, that's really my purpose is to uplift the continent, to be able to compete on global standards. Like I believe that South Africa and Africa should be a global superpower.
Yeah.
And in order for that to happen, you know, it's going to mean empowering a lot of people to get to that point. So that's really what I see myself doing. And I think Stephen Bartlett is a good example of that. Yeah.
Literally starts with us. Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And it's great to have these conversations because I've learned a lot from what you've mentioned now, just from like the content creation side. And I think we should definitely continue these conversations 100%. Because I'm hoping that I could maybe offer some sort of value to you in terms of maybe the business side or I don't know. But yeah, let's keep pushing.
I'm keen to work, bro.
Let's keep pushing.
I'm keen to work. Thank you so much, man. This has been great.
That's great.
One of my favorite conversations. Yeah.
Dope. Awesome. Yeah, that's episode 42. C.Cast, Paki Lawu. Let's go.
Thank you so much for watching this latest episode of the C.Cast. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to achieve a huge mission and we need you to invest in it. The best way to do that is by liking, sharing, and subscribing and leaving a comment down below. By doing that, you help the algorithm understand that we are offering content that is valuable and it will reach more people. There might also be someone out there that just wants to learn a lesson or who might be able to take something away from the podcast. Share it with them. And lastly, if you would like to be more involved in the community, if you want access to opportunities, knowledge from our experience in the digital marketing space, or to connect with other people who are like-minded and uplifting the continent, starting businesses and using tech and creativity to make them successful, join the WhatsApp group by scanning the QR code, and we'll chat with you there. Until then, bye.
AI is supposed to make business easier, but for a lot of people, it's doing the exact opposite. We're automating everything, sending AI-generated emails and scheduling content. We were told that this was going to be a game changer in growing our businesses, but somehow it feels just as hard, if not harder, to land clients, get noticed, and actually close deals. The reason why is that most people use AI in a way that's ruining trust. And in business, if people don't trust you, they are not going to buy from you. Today, I'm breaking down how to use AI in the right way without losing the human touch. Because at the end of the day, people don't buy from bots or AI. They buy from people.